Well, good afternoon to everyone. It's time for Viewpoint. Wendell Moore here with my guests. Just before getting started with who I'm going to be spending the rest of the hour with, let me just go to the telephones and take a call because I believe there's an emergency situation that is at hand and we would like to deal with that. Let's go to the telephones. Good afternoon, caller. You're on.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead quickly.
I'm calling to let the general public know if they have any information in regards to Nathan York. He's been missing yesterday since 2 p.m. I would highly appreciate if you can contact the police station at 542-2222.
Okay. All right. Nathan
I've
York.
been seen since yesterday 2 p.m.
Okay. All right, we'll pass that on. I'm sure they're listening because they always listen to the show anyway. But we hope that he could be found as quickly as possible. All right. Thank you for your call.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
No problem at all.
All right, take care.
All right, there you have it. Both the York families have been missing, reported missing since yesterday. Anyone have any information as to his whereabouts, please contact the police station or someone of the family who might be able to rescue him or at least deal with his situation ASAP. Good afternoon to you, Lisa. You're going to be spending the rest of the hour with me. Shall I call you the Constitution Lady?
Yes, you may. Yes, you may.
But that is a nickname, though.
Oh, yes. Yes, my name is Lisa
How-
Luciana Alexander.
Luciana
Luciana Alexander. Yes.
Alexander.
Yes. Good afternoon, Randall Moore. Good afternoon, radio listeners and television viewers. Thank you for having me once more.
All right. Let's change the subject a little bit.
Yes.
Because I know that you've been out there stumping and making sure that you reach as much people as you possibly can, along with your interviews. But how has been the response from the people in regards to your message and the possibility and the likelihood of you actually getting yourself elected? What the feeling is like?
What I've been experiencing after, of course, the dissolution and in the election process, that I'm not given most of the time the opportunity to approach someone and ask for their support.
But you know you have to do that, though.
But what I'm getting is that many persons will come to me and say, "Oh, you're the Constitution Lady. You're Miss Lisa Alexander." So I think it is different in terms of as a politician in the capacity now as that I am in, that you're always the person who will have to approach the electorate. But in this case, I must say 80% of the individual that approach me are the ones that come to me and will ask a question, and I'm constantly tuning in. They'll make mention of I understand, and thank you for explaining the Constitution. Thank you for giving us proper explanation in terms of government process and why things happen the way they are. They said what we were lacking for years by the previous governments, that no one took the time to explain us. And then on the day of election, we are asked to vote for these individuals, and we continue to do so for years. But now we realize that if there's laws that states the action of government, why are they doing differently? And, of course, the concern is why the system has not changed. Why are we still feeling that we are part of the former Netherlands Antilles? And I explain.
Why do you think that it hasn't changed?
Why the system has not changed is that despite the fact that St. Martin became autonomous country within the kingdom on the 10th of October 2010, the laws that governed St. Martin in the former Netherlands Antilles are the same laws that is being executed today. So the results are the same. It is according to the Constitution, all laws must be in observance of the Constitution of St. Martin and therefore can reflect the current situation that we are in today. As we have seen after the devastation of Hurricane Irma, there are no laws in place in terms of where do we start, who's in charge, who's responsible for the needs, how are we going to deal with the citizens that are homeless, how are we going to deal with the healthcare system, because many has become unemployed based on the devastation. So we have seen whereby the existing laws that are in transit that reflects island territory St. Martin are still being used today and cannot be used in the current situation that we are in. So right now the country, despite the devastation, we are still in transit. We can look around. We can look at, for example, the dump. that has been on fire for the last 3 days, and then you ask yourself, where are we going? Why are we still experience what we're experiencing today? And Mr. Moore, it comes with proper planning. If a country decides to become one of the leading tourism-based country, you must take into consideration that yes, we are known, yes, we have housed many of the cruise ships, but the more people that comes to the country also bring waste with them.
In the Constitution, who is responsible for the environment?
The government, Article 18, I think, no, Article 22 of the Constitution states it's the government constant concern in terms of environment, likewise the welfare of animals. So it's a documented article in the Constitution. Likewise, health, I think it's 21, where it specifically speaks, it's the constant responsibility of government to take care of in terms of the environment with the pollution that affects the health care of the citizens of St. Martin.
And what is missing from that article, or what is missing that should be attached to that article in terms of procedure that is the responsibility?
The environmental laws in terms of environment. In terms, for example, the dump. The dump affects the environment. Anything that is done, that in terms of pollution, fuel, it comes with the health conditions as well, but it affects mainly the environment and likewise the people. Because if the environment is affected, the people are automatically infected. So it has this domino effect. And it's government. After obtaining country, again, as I said, based on the massive growth on being a tourism-based country, it brought a lot of garbage with it. It brought wealth, but it also brought garbage with it. And therefore, we have seen where the dump, so the citizens now of St. Martin, the residents of St. Martin, basically produce garbage in this case, but likewise the tourist that comes to the island, whether it's for a day or whether it's to overnight. So the production level of garbage, not only from the citizen, but likewise the tourist that comes to the island. So therefore, it had the fact that the St. Martin has grown over the years as a tourism base, but it brought the garbage with it. So the production of garbage has exceeded, instead of 1/3, it happens that it's 2/3 constantly based on the services as a tourism-based country that we provide. What is missing in terms of that? A national ordinance is missing. According to the Constitution, if it's constant concern of government in terms of the environment, therefore, a national ordinance that will regulate, taking into consideration that all of us contribute to the garbage. Therefore, it is not something people will want to hear, but government need to find other means in terms of taxation.
Okay, hold your thought for a second. I believe I got a call online. Let's take this call. Good afternoon, caller. You're on.
Good afternoon. My name is Lista Benoit.
Yeah.
I'm calling concerning my son, my 12-year-old son, Nathan York, from Middle Region Drive, Marigalan. He's missing from yesterday afternoon after 12, and he hasn't been found. If there's anyone that know him, he's 12 years old. He's 161M. He has black hair, brown eyes, and brown skin. Please, if anyone see my son, could they call Laser 101? My no, PDD2. My number is 586-5763. Please. Hello.
Okay. All right. We actually took that call. Took a call earlier on in regards to the loss of this 12-year-old. If anyone has any information, certainly would appreciate providing the information to the family who is at lost.
May I say something to that? No, it's okay. And I'm, I share my concerns as well as a mother, so I can relate to what this lady is going through, and I do express my concerns as well.
Well, a 12-year-old.
Yes.
The most you can hope for is that he's secured by someone else and not really
Yes.
out there
There's,
needing help and can't
yes,
get it.
but here's where the community need to come together in terms of going out and, supporting the parents by going out and searching. It takes a community to do that.
Yeah.
And this is the time. So after the program, they're in the Middle Region area,
Yeah.
as she stated. I will pass by to see what I can do as a citizen in terms of assisting even in the search.
You've done so much of that kind of stuff.
Yes, yes. I have a weakness for children. I've been a foster parent for years with government. I have children. I just love children. So yes, it's dear to my heart, and especially hearing something like this. Yes, I've always stood up for the
so
children.
what do we have to do to get St. Martin to where it's supposed to be?
St. Martin, what we have to do, the laws, to bring St. Martin any further than where it is now in transit, it must first start with putting the laws in place.
You keep referring to in transit. Can you explain that? Can you break that down a little
Yes,
bit?
when I make the statement transit, according to the Constitution, in the additional articles, when St. Martin obtained country status, the laws from the former Netherlands Antilles was taken over and fell under the National Ordinance Transitional Legal and Administrative Provisions. That National Ordinance was put in place, passed by the Parliament of St. Martin, in order for all the existing island ordinances and island decrees to become legal, so the country St. Martin could have continued, the government of St. Martin could have continued functioning in the terms of a legal manner. So therefore, there are many, the laws that are there reflects the former Netherlands Antilles, which is
More
island
than
territory
it does
St. Martin,
reflect St.
than
Martin?
it reflects now.
Okay.
Because one of the things also, they are in forms of protection. The existing law, the laws that are in transit, not only remains in transit, but the country being governed and can only move forward based on laws remain in transit until those laws are worked on. So therefore, the Constitution specifically states those laws must be in observance of the Constitution. One of the clear examples is that today we are seeing the massive layoff for workers in the hospitality sector. And is there any protection for them by law in terms of...
Is there?
They're not. What is there currently is the existing labor laws
From the Netherlands
from
Antilles.
Netherlands Antilles. But how do you deal with the situation after devastation? Every ordinance that is passed in the Parliament of St. Martin, when it comes to the citizens, and likewise the government of St. Martin, must be done in form of a national ordinance that will be able to give direction to a devastation where the country must be able to follow accordingly. There is none. So therefore, you will have the massive unemployment, you will have the layoff. What can be done? What form of protection is there? And likewise, that is where we are now. But taken into consideration, and one of the main laws that need to be looked at is whereby employees, we have seen the abuse of employees. Has there been a law passed in Parliament to protect employees? And I can go back in why I'm saying what I'm saying. I was part of the process in terms of the Pelican workers, whereby a company is established, the laws not being in place that if an employee, if a new company takes over the employees into a management company, if there's a law in place that it's a responsibility of that or the previous company to pay out the workers for what is due to them based on the years of service, and that the law allows them to enter into a new agreement with the new management company, then many persons will not walk away with 1/3 of what they receive, like the Pelican workers.
So some of the injustices that we see, some of it is somewhat
the
legal.
Mr. Laws, Well, if they're illegal,
Legal, if it's
no,
illegal on the part
no.
of...
Are we going to consider it legal or illegal? No. What I can consider that here is where injustice, inequality, and unfairness is taking place.
Okay.
If the laws are not in place, you get individuals who make the decision based on their personal feeling towards the situation. So therefore, it brings equality,
Unequality.
it brings unfairness,
And
it brings
unfairness.
injustice. But if these laws are in place, especially we see the importance of it now. Based on the crisis that we are in, taking into consideration St. Martin was forced into a devastation whereby it was able to reveal
What was not in place.
what was not in place for the people of
But
St.
what
Martin.
does that say? What does that say about the people who is responsible for changing our laws and updating them and everything else?
Well, it's proven that if indeed St. Martin, at the time, the day that they were elected, it proved to those that elected them that your business was never their concern. If it was indeed so, at least since 10, at least 1/3 of the laws that would have reflect the social issues of this country would have been passed in the Parliament of St. Martin in observance of the Constitution, taking into consideration that all laws that governs this country must be passed in the Parliament of St. Martin. That must be in observance of the Constitution.
So the Parliament have a lot of work cut out for them.
Definitely. And there's where they have failed the people for years. Because now the people are in a position whereby the law, not those that, not the individual, but the law.
All right. I have to take a break, but I'm getting a signal that there's a call online. Would you take that call?
Okay.
Go ahead. Caller, you're on. Go ahead, quickly.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Wendell Moore. Good afternoon, Lisa. How are you doing? You're doing a fine job, I think. But at the beginning of the show, I must give you some correction there. At the beginning of the show, you said, or you or Wendell said, there was no one explaining the Constitution as you did, as Lisa did. I think not. That's not true. You had a leader of the PPA who, since 10, went all the way. She even gave out a booklet on the Constitution to make a...
All right. We lost that call? All right. Just so that we make that very clear. That is no doing of ours. Whatever happens, I have no idea. But she seemed to be signaling that the PPA leader, the first chairlady of Parliament...
Yes, what I
was
repeated
out
is
of-
what was said to me by person that approached me.
Okay.
That is what my statement was based on, because the question came about in how are you being approached, or you approaching the
Yes.
individuals,
Yes,
and
I
I
did
said
ask you the- I did
yes,
ask you
and
the
I did
question,
said
how
this
you've
is
been
what the
approached.
things that people
People
are
saying
telling.
to you.
Yes,
That's correct.
Yes.
So just let's set the record straight.
Yes.
I believe that there are lots of people on St. Martin who were busy distributing the Constitution,
Oh, yes.
but that's not enough. People need to know what's inside of it.
Yes.
And a lot of people have it and have never opened the pages to see what's inside of it. Thank you for the work you've done. I have to take a break. Let me do that, and when we come back, we'll continue. And welcome back to Viewpoint for today. Wendell Moore here with my guest. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Lee from Leaside. Roadside Grill is here with us and have agreed to join us, primarily because of an acute situation that he found himself in, and I believe a lot of people don't know all the details behind it. So, Mr. Hawley, I'm happy that you were able to come in, and that Lisa would allow you the opportunity to at least share what your experience has been. And Lisa, you yourself has been somewhat around this issue as well. All right.
Well,
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, and
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the time that you're willing to give me so I can express my opinion about this whole situation with Lee's Roadside Grill and the years that has passed and what has been taken from me. In 1978, I applied for the long lease agreement with government in 1978. I then started in 84 with my deep sea fishing, and after 11 years, I was approached by Notary Spade-Jones telling me that he has been granted a long lease agreement with government. I find it very funny that, at that time that the notary would, well, was it possible to achieve long lease land, because I found it very, very, very funny. And the other day on Facebook, Leopold James wrote, if not illegal, then perhaps it's immoral that a notary in a position of trust and by virtue of his position has access to privileged information should never be allowed to use such for its personal interest. Now, I'd like to go through that a little bit more, because I was just in court the other day, and the law stipulates that long lease of land from government should never be granted to a notary or his family. Come about, it was said that the laws were changed in 2002 or 2003. I can't remember exactly. But if someone causes or kills someone, it causes a severe problem in community, and they were not arrested, but they were arrested many years after, are they going to be punished or not? Because the system is sitting there and they're not being used. I also voiced my opinion towards the judge. If these laws are not pertaining to everyone on St. Martin, if it's just pertaining to the lesser mortals of St. Martin and not the rich, because if it happens so that someone that requests a piece of long lease land, they should build on it within 6 months. That's stipulated in the long lease agreement. It stipulates right there. Why is it that these things are not being done? Is it because of conflict that maybe our politicians or people are, own these lands and they don't want to have it brought out that they are the owners and stuff like that? Now, I just want to be left alone. The government had tried it once or twice to intervene and offer these people something else, because government also knows that there is a problem with that. They know that what they did was wrong, and we're trying to fix it back in not something that is feasible. My business became a landmark in St. Martin. It's a tourist destination. I don't know if the people would understand this. There's so many people that come to St. Martin and just to visit Lee's Roadside Grill and have a good time. Right. If Lee's is destroyed and goes away, we're going to have taxis, you have the vendors, you have many different things in play here that is where government is going to be losing a lot of money. Employees are going to be out of job. Right now with the situation here in St. Martin that we have after Irma, so many businesses that is not working and down. And I did my best, but whatever I could, and reopen, because everybody was asking me, try to open the place so we can have a safe place that we can come and eat and do whatever. Now, Lee's is at the brink of being closed down. They want me evicted from there, and where shall I go? It is a very serious. This is not about me anymore. This is about some, like a landmark in St. Martin as a place that everybody comes. Everybody goes to Lee's Roadside Grill to have a good time, and feel very comfortable at home, and everything else. Now, getting back to the long lease agreements that people make, that government make with people on the island or companies or what, I don't see why is it that I think VRAMI should play a bigger role into this, that they should go to wherever these people request this land and see if anybody's occupying these lands, if there's buildings already established on these things. Because, years ago, this is what happened. This is what happened. In 1978, when they requested this whole thing, when Richardson was at that time was in, commissioner or whatever, he says there's gonna be no problem, you can get the land or whatever. Now, back then, it was, we'll get to it later. But as time goes by, I have been the victim,
Yes.
and now presently I am the victim of
Yes.
having to evacuate my place because the judge says I don't have any grounds to stand on. But the judge also has not been putting, I think, the right laws in place and to judge my situation in the correct manner.
Okay. Let me ask Lisa, what does all this, from the perspective of
Mr.
all
Lee?
laws and how it applies to him, because he's worked so hard over these years.
Yes,
to
yes,
put
yes. I was
all
able to
this-
sit with Mr. Holly about a week ago. He also presented the documentation to me. Mr. Holly had become injustice was done to Mr. Holly based on the government of St. Martin. He has become a victim of political games that we have seen for years and promises. As Mr. Holly stated, Mr. Holly started his fishing on that piece of property in 1984, if I can remember correctly. That piece of property was given out in long lease 1986, 2 years after Mr. Holly started his business operation on that property. When you look at the deed and who signed the deed at that time, one of the persons from government that signed the deed was the Commissioner of Finance then, who signed that deed, whereby, based on information received from Mr. Holly, they were aware that Mr. Holly already occupied that specific space.
That's why he said that Vromi should play a more important role in all this, because before this land is given out to someone else, they should have been able to know if there was other people occupying it.
Yeah, Mr. Moore, this is a clear, Mr. Holly is a clear example of where, for years, politician makes promises because Mr. Holly believed what was said to them. If an individual as a citizen visit a government entity, government agency, and there is a specification in a process, and as he stated, he submitted a request in terms of obtaining long lease for that piece of property. But here's where we see that promises was made to him and was never kept by government. Therefore, laws must be put in place. If the laws,
Can the law be changed? Because he mentioned
the
that
law
they
can be
told him-
changed in terms of the intake process and, of course, certain criteria in terms of if a person occupied that property, and that property is still the property of the government of St. Martin, yes, then they can have put a procedure in place whereby the person that occupies it will have the opportunity in first preference to be able to issue that piece of property in long lease.
But that wasn't
But
his
amendment,
privilege.
no, because there is no stipulated law. And here's where we go again, that persons within government tends to, here's where the injustice comes in, the unfairness. So therefore, individuals make decisions based on what they feel is right. But if there are laws in place that stipulates the process, Mr. Holly will not be in the situation that he's in today. But if there's a change made to the process in terms of obtaining long lease, it still would not be applicable to Mr. Holly in this case.
But Mr. Holly is not from Timbuktu either. He's a son of the soil. Isn't there supposed to be some protection for him?
But the government was supposed to protect him, and they did not. The commissioners at the time were fully aware of that. Again, as I said, the Commissioner of Finance was at the notary, the same notary that obtained the property in long lease from government,
And that's not ethical.
and the same Commissioner of Finance is in government,
Mr.
is
Holly,
in Parliament
What are
today.
you going to do now?
Well, I'm not going to move until a proper solution has been found. I mean, I don't think that Lee's Roadside Grill should be destroyed for the greed of some people to have condos and different things built there for their personal gains and whatever. those people have, apparently in the courts, they also mentioned that they will not be building right now. So I don't see also what is the hurried interest to have Lee's Roadside Grill demolished and the people and the employees and everybody put on the street.
And how much people are you employing?
We employ at the present 30 people. And we've been employing more than that.
And again, it's a landmark where I'm sure everyone who is familiar about having dinner there look forward to doing so when they return.
You know, there's not one politician or government employee or whatnot that doesn't come to Lee's Roadside Grill, including our Excellency, the governor. He comes there frequently to have dinner and whatever. But I'm concerned a lot about our tourism, our guests that come and frequent St. Martin, and they build their holidays around coming to Lee's Roadside Grill. It might sound a little far-fetched, but from all the emails and from all the correspondence that I have with these people over the last 30 years, it has become a second home for them. They come to Lee's Roadside Grill and they enjoy themselves, and they have made note of it that they will not be interested in coming to St. Martin anymore if the government allows this to happen, to destroy Lee's Roadside Grill. Yes, we can go someplace else and we can open up, but it will never be the same Lee's Roadside Grill. You know? So, however we look at it, Lee's and myself, because I'm the one who's responsible for this, has been a victim of political greed.
Yes.
I look at it this way. It's been a victim of political greed. Yes, in the courts they mention also it's the little fisherman with the little boat and all kinds.
That's how they refer to you.
To refer to me as that I'm, and I appreciate that. But my family is a fishing family. We came from fishing. I can't deny that. I can't deny where I come from. But it seems as if that you are not supposed to go forward in life. I mean, if you are born from a fisherman and you are a fisherman, isn't that you cannot go forward in life? You're supposed to be a fisherman.
But basically what you're doing, you're selling your own produce. Basically,
exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
But it's the government that needed to protect the citizens is who went against Mr. Holly. They are the ones. There was no
and they are
no
constitutionally bound
Yes.
to protect the citizens of
This
this country.
incident happened when we was part of the former Netherlands Antilles. Yes. But it's a clear example whereby there are no protection in terms of, in this case, Mr. Holly, the local business, whereby the government that's supposed to protect you went against you. And that is what happened to Mr. Holly. Because they knew, those in government knew that Mr. Holly was occupying that space for 2 years. And in 1986, you granted that long lease to a person that application came in after and give it away, and then after that you're coming to Mr. Holly and asking him, oh, I'm trying to help you. They're not trying to help Mr. Holly. If they wanted to help Mr. Holly, they would have issued that piece of property in long lease from the day he occupied that space. And here's where politics play the role. You can no longer play with the lives of the people of St. Martin. Mr. Holly's a victim, but I've seen it happen until this day, whereby citizens of St. Martin is occupying a piece of property and it's given out to an individual with long lease, and they will have to leave as well.
But Mr. Holly, you did mention that an attempt was made somewhere along the line to have it regulated. I think you said...
Yes, this was in 1998.
Yeah, just to put things in perspective.
Yes,
here.
but I felt at that time that I was being set up. I've been set up in a matter that I would have to accept. I would have to accept that Waters Edge Development, Speichans, was the owner. Because if we look at the time involved, from when they were given the long lease agreement and when I was approached, it was 11 years.
Yeah.
It was way over 10 years that was that you would achieve by squatters or whatever else. And this has been thrown in my face several times, and that's why I was using that all the time. So I would achieve this and stuff. No such
Promises
thing.
by government. Promises by government.
Lisa, that's where we're at right now.
Yes, and that is what motivates me when I constantly see the injustice that is being done to the people of St. Martin. Only gives me more motive and strength to stand up, regardless. If we don't stand up for for persons within the society, how are we going to move this country forward? As Mr. Holly said, he helped build St. Martin. He helped keep St. Martin on the map today. And at the end of the day, because of political, personal greed, Mr. Holly today is fighting to keep his doors open. Injustice to the highest level by government officials that still sit in our government of St. Martin today. We can no longer, as a people of St. Martin, accept these type of things. We can no longer accept that.
Mr. Holly, you said that you don't have any plans of moving.
Well, by law, I have a verdict that I should leave,
Yes.
and but I have nowhere to go. I don't have $2 million to go buy a piece of property anywhere in the strip now. That when I went there at the time, the land that I'm occupying was $20,000.
Wow.
I have filled that, and I have filled on both sides wherever my place was.
Yes.
I filled it, and I
Oh,
built
you,
on it.
You were the one who filled it and built.
Whatever was there, yes, I did that myself.
Because from the water,
There was
to the roadside.
nothing there.
Yeah,
There was nothing
okay.
there from all that stuff I did. Now,
and you're not compensated for this either.
that's another thing that Wendell. There has never been any kind of conversation, any sit down with government or with anybody to look at the compensation for the business. We look at it as everybody's
Yes.
looking at Lee, but there's a business, there's Lee's Roadside Grill. This is a company that is going to be destroyed. I don't look at it only from
And it was-
my point of view. I'm looking at it from perspective of a business. It's a company that's been established, been putting money in the government coffers from 2000.
Yeah.
From 2000, it's been, even before that, it's been putting money in the government coffers. Now, why I want to know why. I really want to know why, and why the Constitution and the laws of our country is not abided by. Why is it that I am being taken advantage? Am I supposed to be an example? Or maybe is it that it's a personal vengeance or something against me? I look at it in every circle, in every way. What have I done? What have I done to be put to this test to evacuate me out of Simpson, my hometown,
Yeah,
where I was
Lisa,
born?
And Lisa, something else. It seems like the local residents aren't supposed to be involved in the economic activity either. No sooner than they get themselves settled, they seem to be rooted out.
Correct, but then it clearly shows that there are no protections for the locals. The foreign investors gets more protection than the local business owners, and this is a clear example. And at the end of the day, and I will say it again, Mr. Holly is in the position that he's in based on government.
They are fully responsible.
Yes, they are responsible. And at the end of the day, Mr. Holly occupied the property in 1986, and that same property was given out.
No, in
in
1984.
1984, and that
86.
property was given out in long lease in 1986. But
this-
people of St. Martin,
But
pick-
can I
yes.
intervene this? But why not? If it was me, and this long lease agreement was given to me in 1986, and Wendell, if you was on the property, I would have come and said, Wendell, I have the long lease agreement, on this property.
That
and
would
what-
be the
with
best thing to do.
Would have been the appropriate thing to come and
Yeah.
say, well, listen, so and so. But to wait 11 years or 12 years to come and tell me,
A trick. Let's take a call quickly. Yes, caller, go ahead quickly.
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
I just called in to talk about this Mr. Lee Roadside Grill.
Yeah, go ahead quickly.
I believe that the man is from here. He's doing a very good job. His food is nice. I don't know why the government had to want to throw him out. If it was him, I would have fight until the end. Let him stay there. If I have to go and rally with him, I will do it. I think the government is too crooked.
All right, thank you for that.
May I respond to that?
Yeah,
Yes,
I think
yes.
that's where we probably might
Yes,
end up.
but
huh?
what happened in this case, it's not a citizen government issue anymore. The property was given to a company in long lease. So basically the court case was between Mr. Holly and the company that obtained the long lease from government. So therefore, it's government is who has Mr. Lee in the position that
Yeah.
he's in. And
now he's
as a
fighting
question, yes.
against, another company.
Correct, correct. So basically, at the end of the day, is that if government did not make that decision by giving that piece of property in long lease to the company, then Mr. Lee would not be here today. But it's the same politicians that are running government today and is delivering the same results. And one must ask themselves, find out how many of them in government today own that strip in Simpson Bay.
Wow. You're opening
And
another Pandora box
yes,
there.
no, tell the people the truth. Mr. Lee, if you look at the space that Mr. Lee has, 600?
Yeah, about that, 600 square meters.
600 square meter? Are you telling me that Mr. Lee could not been given a long lease, and at the time I think he started was about 200 square meter with the expansion, or 300? That could have been given to Mr. Lee.
Let me take a final call here, and then we're going to have to wrap it up because you're running out of time. Good afternoon, caller. You're on. Go ahead quickly.
Good afternoon, Wendell. Good afternoon, Lee. Good afternoon, Lisa. I think this is a clear-cut case of what was happening way back in the days with what the Democratic Party was doing when they governed. But in listening to everything now, it's a major conflict of interest, in my opinion, when the notary, and probably the notary who signed the deed, signed off on something in his best interest or his company's best interest.
Yes.
I think this is something that you should be taken to the Ombudsman League and see if they could shed any light on this.
All right.
Because I think you have a clear-cut case of conflict of interest.
All right. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you.
Listen, you're just at the hands of all the injustices that are meted
Yes.
out to you at this point.
Yes, I understand that, but the people of St. Martin has to wake up. If this is
Yes.
happening to me today,
Yes.
it will happen to somebody else later on.
Yes.
You know, it's not fair. It's not fair because, you know, like I said, it's not about me anymore.
Yeah.
It's not about me anymore. It's about country
St.
St.
Martin.
Martin.
St.
Country
Yes.
St. Martin. Because
Yes.
Lee's Roadside Grill and Deep Sea Fishing has
It just-
always been
Yeah.
putting in money into the government coffers, been paying and paying. We have companies that come
But
to
it
St.
just
Martin.
so happened that you are the proprietor of that business. But that
Exactly.
business has become an important part of our tourism product.
Exactly.
Yes.
And why not a local? That's the big question. Why not someone who is from here? He's from Simpson Bay as
But
well.
it's the same people from St. Martin who did that to him.
Yeah.
It's the same people. We are destroying our own people.
We have to take
We
a
are
second look at
destroying
the way
our
we do
own
things.
people, and that is why
You know-
it is very important that the people now look at Mr. Holly in what he's going through, and many of them could relate to you. They might not take the stand to come on the radio or speak out, but I have heard there's a lot of injustice being done by government against its own people. That is why this St. Martin cannot move forward.
You want to make a final point, Lee? Go ahead.
Well, you know, I would like to emphasize that if these things continue happening here, taking away property and doing businesses and having the local people evicted from their work and whatever, it's going to have grave effect on our country. I am very concerned about St. Martin. I'm from St. Martin. I'm born in St. Martin. We go back 300 years here, our families and stuff. To touch on one thing, I have requested 4 times long lease land from government, and 4 times I've been denied. I mean, this is the last time now that it has happened, and I feel that why? I would like to know why. I would like the government to at least tell me why I'm doing. Even my last application here from 1978, it cannot be found in my files. It cannot be found in my files. I mean, it's a sad thing. But all in all, you know, they have to remember one thing, that there's a lot of tourism going around St. Martin, and Lee's Roadside Grill happens to be one of it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to have to let that be the final word for you, Lisa. And wrap it up. Can you just sum it up for me, please?
Yes. Mr. Lee, it's an honor to have you sitting next to me and being able to express issues that I have spoken of and stood up for in the past, present, as we move forward. It's a clear picture of what is taking place, and the people of St. Martin at this time must, on the 26th of February, look at each candidate, look at what is being said. To you, the people of St. Martin, pay keen attention if they have your business to heart. And therefore, please, I'm asking you, go out and vote. This change can only happen for St. Martin by you as the citizens cast your vote on the 26th of February.
Yeah, Lisa, you're what number on your list?
Oh, I am number 9. I'm a candidate with the USP, and I'm asking the people of St. Martin to come out, cast your vote, vote for the USP, vote for candidate number 9, which is myself, Lisa Alexander, or any other candidate on the USP, because one of the things that we definitely have is the people business at heart.
All right, Mr. Lee, thank you for your courage. I really do appreciate the fact that you were willing to even come and share your side of the story.
I appreciate that very much, Wendell. I would just like to say thank you to my family and all my supporters and St. Martin in general, the population of St. Martin for contributing and helping me over the years to keep the Leeds
That's why
roadside
you're
rail.
standing up.
Yes.
Because you got some support.
Of the support
Yeah.
from the people of St. Martin
Yes.
and my family.
And Mr. Holly, I must say, the answers to the questions that you have can be answered by the persons, names mentioned on the deed that went to the notary and signed that document.
All right.
Start there.
All right.
Let them explain to you why they did what they did to you.
All right, folks, that's the end of today's program. I want to thank you for being patient with us and hearing us out. And we hope that 12-year-old is found as well. That
yes.
too is another concern. But until we come back again and join my next guest right here on the same program, we're going to have to say goodbye. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.